all jobs in the corporate world require the knowledge of some spreadsheet software. Regardless of whether it's an analytics related job or not, everyone has to look at Excel files or Google Sheets and maybe work on them too. On the other hand, students are not finding resources which teach these tools not just as an academic subject but also show actual use cases of Excel and Google Sheets in business scenarios. We have designed this course for such individuals. This course starts at a beginner-friendly level and covers all the essential topics that an analyst must know. We have chosen MS Excel and Google Sheets because these are the most popular spreadsheet tools used amongst the companies as of today. If you put 1 hour a day regularly, within 2 weeks, you will be able to use all the important features of Excel and Google Sheets. We start this course with the very basics of Excel and Sheets. Then we cover all the essential functions that you must know. Next, we increase the level and start learning about tools such as sorting and filtering data, formatting data, and pivot tables. After that, we spend some time learning about all the popular charts and graphs in both Excel and Sheets. In the last part of the course, we take this to the final level when we discuss the advanced topics such as macros and indirect functions. For each topic, we'll first implement it in Excel, and after that, we will implement it in Google Sheets. This will ensure that you retain most of the topics while also comparing how things are being done in MS Excel versus Google Sheets. The ideal student for this course is a business manager who wants to expand on the analytics skills or a student who wants to start a career in data analytics. There are no prerequisites for this course. We will teach you everything from basic to the advanced level. If you have any doubt or query throughout the course, you can post them in the discussion forum. We will be solving all your doubts. So feel free to have a look at the course description, and we look forward to seeing you inside.
Google Sheet or Google Spreadsheet is a free web-based application similar to Microsoft Excel. In this course, we will learn how to use formulas and various functions, or how to create tables and charts, etc. on Google Sheet in parallel with Microsoft Excel. So you will learn both. To open a Google Sheet, you have to go to your Google Drive and go to this new, right click here and open a new Google Sheet. Now as you can see, I have opened a spreadsheet and this looks very similar to Microsoft Excel. We can see the cells here. These are the columns marked from A to Z. As you remember, in Excel, we have 16,000 something columns, but in Google Sheet, you'll only get columns from A to Z. Though you can increase the number of columns if you want. Similarly, we'll only have 1,000 rows if you want more rows. So as you can see, only 1,000 rows. If you want more rows, you can increase the number of rows as there is an option to add more rows. Now, as you know that the cell is an intersection of column, as this is the column along with the rows. So this is the rows, and if the intersection of D and the row number 5 will make the cell D5, and here is the name of the cell in the name box. So this looks very similar to Microsoft Excel. Here you can see that we have sheet 1. If you want to add more sheets, you can go to this plus sign and click. You will add more sheets. Similarly, if you want to rename the sheet, you can right click here and rename it. Now moving forward, in Excel you will see a ribbon here, but in Google Sheet you will only see this toolbar. You will see these options. These are the adding decimal points. So all these options are very basic options. When you create a spreadsheet, you create a table, you will need almost all of these options. So these are present in the toolbar. For other options, you can go to these menus. You have edit menus where you can edit the data. You have cut, copy, paste, paste special where you have values only, format only, and so on. Similarly, you have views where you can freeze. If you want to freeze rows, you can freeze it from here. You can group the data from here, or you can show the formula bars, grid lines, etc. There you have insert if you want to insert cells, rows, columns, sheet, chart, pivot table, etc. if you want to insert an image. Then you will have this format menu where you can change the format, a number format, text format, there text data types, you have alignments also there, wrapping option is also there, rotation option is also there, then font size is also present. Then we have conditional formatting. This is very important. So all these menus have different various options. We will learn each and every in this course. Along with it, you will have this title tab. You can name your spreadsheet from here. Let's name it XYZ. You can add a comment from here. You can share this spreadsheet, and you can see that there is a save button which is auto saving it, that it says last edit was 3 minutes ago. Let's say I enter something and you can see last edit was a second ago. So it is auto saving whatever I'm writing here, whatever I'm doing here, it is auto saving it. So this is a benefit of Google Sheet, where in Excel you have to save after working on it, but in Google Sheet it is auto saving all your work. Now in coming videos we will learn more about Google Sheet and Microsoft Excel as well. Now let's move to the next topic.
In this video, we are going to learn how to enter data and formulas into our worksheet. Entering data in a cell is very simple. We just click the cell and type the data into it. Let's see how. Let's click on cell B1. When you click it, this thick black bordered box highlights this cell. This means that this cell is now active. If I want to activate C1, I will click on C1 cell. I can also use keyboard arrow keys to move around this active cell. If I press down key, active cell now becomes C2. If I press right key, D2 becomes the active cell. And what is the meaning of being active? If a cell is active, whatever you will type on your keyboard will be entered in that active cell only. So I want to write columns in cell B2. I click on cell B2 or use the arrow keys to navigate to cell B2 and then start typing columns. Then I press the right key on the keyboard. I am on cell C2 now. Now let's write 16,384, which is the total number of columns in a worksheet. Similarly, let's enter rows in B3 cell. The number of rows is 1,048,576. If you remember, in the last video, I asked if you know the number of rows and number of columns, can you find out the number of cells in this sheet? Let us find out the number of cells by writing cells in this cell and writing the formula for calculating cells. The formula will be simply the product of numbers in cell C2 and cell C3. That is, if we multiply the number of columns with number of rows, we get the number of cells. To enter a formula, we start with equal to symbol. Then we click on the cell which contains the first value. Then we put the multiplication symbol, which is a star, and then we select the second cell. When I click enter, this is the number that I get. This is the number of cells in a worksheet. All these mathematical symbols, such as the multiplication symbol that we used here and other mathematical formulas, will be discussed in depth in the coming videos. Here I have just used the multiplication symbol as an example for you. Now you can see that this cell has the value of the number of cells, but you can also see the formula that you entered in this bar. This bar is called the formula bar. The formula bar shows the content of the active cell. Active cell can have both data or a formula in it. If it has data, the data will be shown in the formula bar. If it has a formula, the answer of the formula will be shown in the cell. However, the actual formula will be shown in the formula bar. On the left of this formula bar is the name box. Name box tells us the name of the active cell. So right now our active cell is C4 and that is the name we are shown in the name box. You can see the name is C4. C stands for the column name and 4 stands for the row name. So now you have created this worksheet which has some data into it. You would like to save this worksheet so that whenever you open it again, you access this same data. To save a worksheet, we use the file button. In this, you will see options such as new, open, save as, etc. Since we are saving this file for the first time, we will click on save as and we will select the location where we want to save this file. I am saving this file on my desktop. I am naming the file as Excel Basics. You can see that the type is selected as Excel Workbook, which has a default extension of .xlsx. Every Excel file that you save by default will have a file extension of .xlsx. If you want to change the location of where you are saving this file, you can navigate the location using these navigation folders, or you can enter the location on this top bar also. Now we will click save. You can see that the name of my workbook is changed to excelbasic.xlsx. If I minimize this file and go to my desktop, you can see that I have this file named excelbasic.xlsx, and whenever I double click on this file, the same file will open up. Once a file is saved in its location, whenever you make any changes to it, you can just press this save button, or you can go to file option and click on save. Now let's close this file once and open it again using this saved file icon. You can see that your file was successfully saved. You can open it anytime and work on it again whenever you feel like.
In this video, we will learn basic information regarding worksheets. We will learn how to add or delete a sheet or how to rename a sheet. As we know that this worksheet or this Google spreadsheet works as a notebook, and these sheets are the pages of the notebook. Suppose you're working on a data where you want to add marks of each student of different subjects. So if you add, let's say, 4 sheets for 4 different subjects, it will be easier for you to add the data and understand the data as well. So suppose you rename the sheet to a name of the subject. Suppose you have subject of English, so go to rename and rename it to English. Then you can add the names of the students and marks of the student. Similarly, if you want to add more subjects, add a new sheet, rename it to the different subject. Suppose I rename it to arts. Let's add few more. Let's rename it to science. And similarly, if I want to delete some sheet, I can just right click here and delete the sheet. As you can see, the sheet has been deleted. If I want to add more sheet, I can just add another, rename it. Let's rename it to maths. If you want to change the positions of the sheet, if you want math subject first and then English, you can just double click here and drag and drop it. So the maths is on first, then English and arts now. Now let's add some data. First, let me zoom it. Let's add 125. Now let's add a column name and a column marks. Let's add few data. Let's A, B, D, and let's add marks. Let's say 90, 78, 85. Now, if you want to add another column or another row here, if you want to add another row, let's say if you want to add C between B and D, you can do it. You have to just go to the row right click here and insert row above or below. So I want to insert a row below. I will insert a row below. Now I can add C here. So C, and let's add marks. Let's say 89. This is how you can add a row. If you want to add a column, let's say I want to add a column of roll number. Now let's go to this A, right click and insert a column left or insert a column right. I want to insert a column to the left. I will insert it in the left. Now let's rename it to, let's say, roll number of students. So as you can see, I can only see roll number of S, and S is also not complete. So if you want to see the complete text, you can just go to the line between A and B. As you can see, this double-headed arrow, just drag and drop it. So as you can see, it has been resized, but you can see there's a white space here as I have dragged it, but I cannot know what is the perfect size to drag it. So to do that, just go here and double click. It will get the exact size of the text. So let's add roll number. Now we know how to resize a column. Now if you want to delete a row or a column, you can delete it easily. Just go to the row or column and delete it. Now if you want to delete this C, go to this 4, right click here and you can just delete it. If you want to delete only the values inside this row, you can clear the row. So if you want to clear it, so as you can see, the values are gone. If you want to delete the entire row as well, you can delete it. Just delete the row and the row will be gone. Similarly, if you want to delete a column, you can go to the column, right click and you can either clear it or delete it as well. So right click here. So if you want to clear the column, you can clear it. If you want to delete the column, you can delete it as well. So delete the column and the column is gone. The last thing we need to know is how to hide or unhide a column. So sometimes we have data, but we don't want to show it to everyone. We just want to show the useful data to others. So suppose if I add a column here, let's say a midterm marks. So if I add a column, insert column to the left, and if I add midterm marks here, and if I add some marks, let's say 45, 36 and let's say 50, and if I don't want to show them to others, I can just hide this column. So just right click in this column and hide it. So the column has been hidden, but as you can see, there is a two-headed arrow between A and C and the B is gone. You cannot see a B. So when you delete a column, the column A, if you delete B, the C will be renamed to B, but now B is here but it is hidden. If you want to unhide it, you can see these black two-headed arrows. Go to this and tap here. And as you can see, B is unhidden now. Similarly, you can hide a row as well. So if you want to hide, let's say this D, you can go to this and right click here. You can hide the row and the row is hidden. As you can see, the two-headed arrow is here. If you want to unhide it, just go and click it. It will show. Now hide it again if you want to hide it. This is how you can hide rows and columns. Similarly, if you want to hide or unhide a sheet, you can do that as well. If you want to hide a sheet, just go to the sheet, right click and hide sheet, and the sheet is hidden. To unhide the sheet, you have to go to this view menu. Here you will see hidden sheets. The hidden sheet is math. You can show it. So the hidden sheet is shown now. So this is how you can hide, unhide rows, columns or a sheet. Now we will move to the next topic. Thank you.
In this video, we are going to learn the following things: how to get started with Excel, basic terminologies such as workbook, worksheet, rows, columns and cells, and lastly, what is ribbon and what are the various tabs in the ribbon. So let's start. The first thing we have to do is start Microsoft Excel. To start, it should be installed in your system. If it is not installed, you may need to visit the Microsoft website to download Microsoft Office. If it is installed, you can open Excel by 3 methods. The first is you go to the Start option and you search for Excel and you click on it. The other option is you use this search tool to look for Excel and click on it. The third option is by right clicking on the desktop, going to New and selecting Microsoft Excel worksheet here. If you double click on it, it opens a worksheet. Once Excel opens, you will see this window with many small rectangular boxes. Down here, you can see a tab saying Sheet 1. You can add more sheets by clicking this plus icon. Now you can see Sheet 2 and 3 also. Think of this window as your notebook and these sheets as the pages in your notebook. This window is called Excel Workbook and each sheet is called a worksheet. So in Excel terms, your notebook corresponds to a workbook and a page in your notebook corresponds to a worksheet. Now if you open Excel again, that will open another workbook. You can work on many workbooks simultaneously. So you can see that I have two workbooks active and I can work on both of them simultaneously. Now let us look at all the elements that we can see in this window. Do not get intimidated by the number of elements. Once you start working on Excel, all this will come naturally to you. So the major part of this screen is taken up by this set of small rectangles. If you look closely, these rectangles are formed by the vertical and horizontal lines. These vertical paths are called columns and each column has an alphabet name. If I click on this letter B, it highlights the column B. In a worksheet, there are 16,384 such columns. Although you do not need to remember this number, but that is the number of columns we have in this worksheet. Similarly, the horizontal paths are called rows and are represented by numbers. If I click 2, the second row will be highlighted. The maximum number of rows in a worksheet is over 1,000,000. Now the intersection of the row and the column creates a rectangle. This rectangle is called a cell. So column A and row 1 create a cell called A1. Now I told you that we have 16,384 columns and we have 1,048,576 rows. Can you find out the total number of cells in this worksheet? And if I have 3 worksheets in this workbook, how many cells do I have in my workbook? I will show you the answer to this question in the next video. Let's move on for now. Now this area is called the ribbon. Ribbon constitutes all these tabs: home, insert, page layout, etc. and all the options that you see within each tab. If you do not want to see the options in the tabs, you can collapse the ribbon with this small button. But generally, when I am working on a file, I usually prefer to keep them open. Now remember that all these are tabs except this file button. File button has some other functionalities and we will discuss that later. For now, I will give you a brief overview of these tabs. In the videos to come, we will dive deeper into all the options you see in these tabs. The first tab is the Home tab. You'll probably spend most of your time with the Home tab selected. This tab contains the basic clipboard commands such as cut, copy, paste, formatting commands, styling commands, and commands to insert and delete rows or columns. The second tab is Insert tab. We use this tab to insert elements into a worksheet, elements such as a table, a diagram, a chart, a symbol, and so on. Page Layout tab contains commands that affect the overall appearance of your worksheet. including some settings that deal with printing. The fourth tab is Formulas tab, which is used to insert a formula, name a cell, or access formula auditing tools, etc. Next tab is Data tab, where you will find data related commands including data validation, filtering, sorting, and advanced analysis tools. Then comes Review tab, which helps to review the content in your worksheet, such as do spell checking, translate words, or add comments. The last tab is the View tab, which contains commands that control various aspects of how a sheet is viewed. For example, zooming or freezing panes within a worksheet. So while explaining this, I have used various Excel specific terms, and you may not understand the meaning of these terms right now. But when we go through each of these functionality one by one in the course, you will understand what each option does. So this might seem like a lot, but trust me, we will go step by step, and when you see the examples of how all these are used, you will realize that Excel is very simple and very powerful tool, which is why it is very popular in businesses. In the next video, we are going to see how to enter data and formula in these cells.
In this video, we are going to learn how to enter data or formula into a worksheet. Entering data in a cell is very simple. You just have to click on the cell and type the data into it. So let's choose a cell. Let's choose B1. As you can see, the cell has been highlighted with this blue border, which means that this cell is active, which means that if you enter anything will be entered into this cell only. You can change the position of this active cell. So if I use the right arrow key, now my active cell is C1. If I use down arrow key, my active cell is C2. I can also use tab to change the position. I can also use enter to enter the values, or if I enter the value, let's say XYZ here, and press enter, go to the next cell. This is how you can change the position of active cell and enter values into it. So let's choose B2 and enter value. So let's use column. And if I use right key, now my active cell is C2. Now let's add 26. As we know, we only have columns from A to Z, that is 26. Now let's use down key and then left key. Now I am into the B3, which is my active cell right now. Now let's use rows. Now after clicking right key, I'm on C3, which is my active cell. So we have 1000 rows. Now if I want to know the number of columns, I need to multiply these values. Now let's do this using a formula. So if I use cells, and now to get the values, I have to type a formula here. To type a formula, double click here and press equal to. Now I want to multiply these two values. I can either multiply 26 with 1000, or I can choose the cell reference. So if I use cell reference C2 star C3 and press enter, now we have 26,000 rows. I have choose cell reference because if I change this value to 27, the final outcome will also change. This is how cell reference works. Now as you can see in 26, you see the value here 26 as well. This is the formula bar, and this is the address box or the name box which shows the address of the cell. So the name box says C2. So this is the address of this cell. Similarly, when we go to C3, the name box says C3 and the value, the formula bar says 1000. Now if I go to C4, the cell says 26,000, but the function, the formula bar says C2 star C3. So this formula bar holds the formula, but if there is only values, it will hold the value as well. So if you go to column, it will show column. But if I write a formula here, the cell will show the value of the formula, where the formula bar will show the formula used. Now let's see how we can save or download the sheet. As in Excel, we can save the spreadsheet, naming it, but in Google Spreadsheet or Google Sheet, you can just download it as it is already saved in your Google Drive. So if you name it, let's say my sheet and it has been saved to my Google Drive. Now, if you want to download it, go to this file and enter download. This file menu has other options as well. You can import a new spreadsheet. You can open an old spreadsheet. You can make a copy of this spreadsheet. You can share this spreadsheet as well. You can email this spreadsheet as well. And then you can download the spreadsheet as a Microsoft Excel document or PDF file or a web page and so on. These are the sources you can download this file into, these forms. You can rename this as well or move to a different location, or you can delete it. So as you can see, we have saved this file by naming it my sheet, and I just have renamed it. I have not saved it using any save option, just like we save it in Microsoft Excel. So how will I find it again? So if I remove it from here, if I cut it, the sheet is gone. How can I reload it, or how can I find it? Where will I find it? So go to your Google Drive, go to recent, where you will find your recent work, and here you can see my sheet. Open it and the sheet is here. So this is how you can save or rename a sheet. You don't need to save it. You just have to name it and you will find it in your Google Drive. If you want to download it in your system, in your computer, you can download it as an Excel file or a PDF file. Now let's move to the next.
In this video, we will learn how to manipulate or change the data that we already have in a cell. And we will also understand the types of data that we have in Excel. So this is where we left off in the last video. We have this file saved named Excel Basics. We will double click on it to open it. We have some data in the cells B2 to C4 in this worksheet. If you select cell B2 and start typing now, it will clear the cell first and enter the new input you have given. So if I start writing columns again, you can see that I have to type it again completely. But what if I just wanted to edit some part of the text without clearing the content? For example, I want to write number of columns instead of just columns. How to do that? For that, we double click on this cell. Now this cell is in edit mode. You can click wherever you want to edit, that is add or remove text. You will see this blinking cursor there. Now you can type the new text, number of, and hit enter. Your cell is updated now. Another way of editing content is to select that cell and editing it in the formula bar. So if I want to remove this number of part, I can just select that and press backspace or delete key. Now if you want to clear a cell, that is, if you want to delete the contents of the cell, you can select the cell and press backspace or the delete key of your keyboard. You can see that the content of that cell is cleared. Now you can enter new text if you want to. So here's a quick recap. To replace text in a cell, click that cell and type the new text. To edit a text, double click on that cell and then type. To clear the text, click on the cell and press delete or backspace. This is how we change existing data in cells. Okay. Now we are going to discuss types of data we enter into cells. Basically, the data is only three types. One is textual, which consists of alphabets, such as the cell B2, which contains the text columns. The second type is numeric, which consists of numbers, such as the cell C2, which contains this numeric value of 16,384. And the third type is formula, such as the cell C4, in which we have written the formula is equal to C2 into C3. But within numeric type of data, there are more types of formats. In the Home tab, in the drop down here, you can see various other formats. By default, it will be at General. If you select number, it will become numeric with 2 decimal points. If you select currency, it will add a currency symbol such as this dollar or rupee symbol and a comma at appropriate positions. There are various other formats also, but one of the most important format is the date format. We need to understand a concept here. Excel treats date and time as a special type of numeric value. The earliest date that Excel understands is January 1st, 1900. This date is taken as number 1. To illustrate, let's enter 1 in this cell. Now let's select long date format in the drop down. You can see number 1 is converted into this date 1st January 1900, which is the first date for Excel. If you enter number 2, that will be converted to January 2, 1900. And this series goes on. We do not need to concern ourselves with the numeric date format though. If you enter 2nd June in this cell and press enter, Excel understands that it is a date and handles it accordingly. We understood that concept that dates are handled as a numeric value because sometimes when you open someone else's Excel file, you may find that there are numbers in the date column. Now you would know that you just need to select the number and change the format to date type. Same goes with the time format. Apart from that, when you have textual data in a column, say in the B column we have textual data. Now if we start typing new text in this column, Excel will auto recommend textual values basis other values in that column. So since the last value in this column is cells, if you type C, Excel will recommend that you can enter cells here. If you accept this change, you can press enter and this cell will have the value cells. If you do not want to use that value, you can just continue typing whatever you want to type. And another thing about numerical values, so when we converted that number which was in general format to a number format, we saw that there were 2 digits added after a decimal point. If you want to remove these digits or if you want to increase the number of digits after the decimal point, you can click these 2 options. The first option increases the number of digits after the decimal point, and the second option reduces the number of digits after the decimal point. So if we have value of pi in this cell as 3.14159 and you think that these are too many digits for most of your calculations, you just need to look at only 2 decimal digits. You can go and click on this option to reduce the number of digits that are visible to you. You can see in the formula bar the original value is retained, but in the cell you will see only the number of digits which you have specified. With this, we conclude this lecture.